With Nicholas Rushworth. Hello, Nicholas.
Good morning, Lorna.
So, Apple and the death of Steve Jobs, of course, didn't make yesterday's front pages. That happened too late over in America for it to get into the front pages. But they're certainly making up for it today, aren't they?
Well, first there was an outpouring of tributes and grief and respect for him online. But now the press have caught up big time. And look at this front page of Libération. Isn't that absolutely striking? A black page with the Apple icon, and you've got the stalk of the apple falling off, which it looks like a tear for Steve Jobs, but there's a multitude of things that it might make you think about. Also, on the front page of La Tribune, all the papers, in fact, are covering him on their front pages. There, La Tribune, you can see the headline there, l'icône, and that's a pun in a way. He's an icon, but also he's the man who put the I in front of everything.
Indeed.
So that's very nicely done there. And another free paper Metro in the streets here of Paris. There you can see it. Le monde pleure son geek suprême. The world is crying for the supreme geek.
That's quite a good way of describing him, perhaps. But it's not all positive coverage, is it? One newspaper perhaps taking a look at another side of Steve Jobs.
Well, Libération has 12 pages of coverage of Steve Jobs and Apple, and it has some criticism. One of its criticisms is about what it calls the brutal system of exploitation related to subcontractors and suppliers in China. Now, it says that the company is presenting itself worldwide as green, and it demands that workers related to Apple are treated with dignity. But the paper argues the reality on the ground is very different, and it points to a report just last month by 5 NGOs entitled Bad Apple. Now, the paper Libération, left-wing there, saying that the company is gaining from a lack of checks in China and also a lack of trade unions. The editorial in the same paper is saying that the Steve Jobs heritage is full of good things, but also, I quote at the end of that editorial there, it is totalitarianism in jeans and training shoes. Apple is cool no more in the way it holds on to market share, and that's what that paper's saying there.
Okay, well, moving on to another story. The French press also covering Nicolas Sarkozy's visit to Georgia today.
And Le Figaro has a piece by the Georgian president, Mikhail Saakashvili, and that's a eulogy to President Nicolas Sarkozy. The French president was instrumental in ending the 2008 conflict between Georgia and Russia. And in that piece there, Mikhail Saakashvili says the relations between France and Georgia go back as far as the Middle Ages. France is nothing less than the big sister. Of course, all that eulogizing is about Georgia trying to get closer and closer to the EU. He wants to join the EU.
And we will be taking a look at that story in a bit more detail in Focus right after this press review, in fact. But finally, lots of people in France looking at the socialist primary vote this weekend as well.
The hard left paper here, L'Humanité, it has that on its front page, and it's asking whether, in fact, this primary vote is about strengthening democracy, or instead it's just a journey to a two-party system. And it's basically arguing that because L'Humanité, as the hard left, wants to keep this system in France, the electoral system in France, where there are lots of smaller parties. The Communist Party, of course, has been struggling for years. Now, Le Figaro is right-wing and hammers the left ahead of the socialist primaries for its vague policies on jobs, health and education. And in that paper, it's got a poll saying that François Hollande is actually really not only the favourite, but is forecast to get 43% on Sunday. And in a second round runoff, he would be 15 points clear of Martine Aubry. So that, according to Le Figaro, would be like a clear victory for François Hollande.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Nicholas, for that roundup of some of the big stories in today's French newspapers. Time now for a reminder of our top stories here on France 24.